podcast of Nintendo. What you just saw in the video.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Brotherhood of Gaming podcast. Unfortunately, it's not a very positive podcast session. We have just received news, tragic news in the video game industry. Our dear president, Satoru Iwata, Nintendo's president, has unfortunately passed away at age 55. You might have noticed his absence at this year's E3. Which his voice was still there, and he maintained his appearance as a puppet at Nintendo's Direct alongside Reggie and Shigeru Miyamoto, promoting such great titles coming as Star Fox Zero and so on. And he was such a great, likable guy. You'd see him in all of the Nintendo Directs, trying to come up with funny ways. He even had like a funny meme with him holding bananas that became a thing. He was just such a likable guy.
The print money symbol,
right?
Or the thing shows both of them.
Yeah, and it's a real dark day for Nintendo.
Video games in general.
Yeah.
Video games in general.
Yeah. Born in 1959, and his passing on 2015, July 11th, and the news became public today. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Nate. You can start.
Like, I worry about the direction of what Nintendo would do, like, without him, though. Like, he's done way too much. Like, you know, he's made, like, you know, new IPs, old IPs last for generations, and it's just like, you know, with him gone, like, you know, a great person like him, yeah, it becomes extremely worrisome now.
Yeah, I'm looking up some information on him right now. Nintendo has issued their short statement announcing his passing. They deeply regret the announcement. And he passed away from something called bile duct growth, which, after looking it up, it seems to be a form of cancer, but we're not entirely sure on all of the facts.
Well,
he didn't even look like he had anything wrong with him, though.
That's what makes it even more scary. Cancer is something that has affected our family a lot, as has with many. So the fact that he passed away at 55 that's way too young to be dying. But
like, at least
yeah,
for him,
but,
though. Yeah.
You know, he made. You know, when you think of video games, you know, we all came in at different times, but I think for the most part, and I don't think it's too far off to say this, that when you think of video games, first off, you think of Nintendo. And the fact that he took over in 93, do you say, Will? That's when he took over as president?
Yeah, well, he became president at 1993, but he didn't become Nintendo's president around 2002, which is kind of weird to me.
So you know, when you think of Nintendo, of course, you think of Shigeru Miyamoto, you know, and rightfully so, but as the president, it kind of seems like he was the one who was the captain of the ship, and he was the one that was kind of guiding it, and the fact that this guy has been, oversaw so many of Nintendo's consoles, from the Wii to the Game Boy to the Wii U, the DS, and so on, you know, he's always been there. So it's going to be hard to replace the talent, but it's going to be impossible to replace him as a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the morale is taking a really deep shot with this.
Yeah, here's some statements from and about Iwata. He was forced to skip last year's E3 due to his poor health, and shortly afterwards underwent surgery to remove the bile duct growth. A few months later, in the wake of concerns over his health, he said via Twitter that he is progressing well. A talented programmer, Iwata first joined Nintendo's HAL laboratory in the 1980s, where he worked on games like Balloon Fight and Earthbound. He became a director of the company in 2000, and in 2002 was appointed as only the 4th president of Nintendo when he succeeded Hiroshi Yamauchi. In his time as president, Iwata oversaw some of the strongest Wii and DS, and weakest GameCube, Wii U periods in Nintendo's history as a video game company. In recent times, he developed almost cult status as the host of Nintendo Direct programs. An immensely popular figure both within the industry and with Nintendo fans, he will be sorely missed. Rest in peace, Mr. Iwata.
Yeah. You know, when it comes to something like Nintendo, there's so many people who are involved with its success, people that you may not have known about. So I guess that's a nice positive about the Nintendo Directs, is that it gave us a chance to introduce him, give him some face time, and get the respect that he deserved, because he was a major part of the success when it comes to Nintendo.
Yeah, it's when a public figure like this goes, like when playing video games, be it Nintendo or so, you rarely ever think about the people who run the businesses, or think about you're usually thinking about the stars, the characters you see on screen. But then very rarely do you ever get to see the faces of the people who work on it. And fortunately, Iwata was not really one of those people, because you did see him quite often on Nintendo Direct showing you hands-on personally these games, and whether they were great games or not, he was excited about them, and he was showing you how they could be good and what to look forward to. He's showing, hey, we got the Star Fox Zero coming, like it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be awesome, and you believe him. Like, he feels very genuine about the products that he's pushing, and that must be a thing about Nintendo in general, is that it must be such a fun community of people just to work with, where you have Reggie from America and Shigeru Miyamoto and this guy working together and having fun and coming up with creative ways to introduce their games, be it through Robot Chicken, claymation, or the puppets like we just saw at this year's E3. They're fun, likable people that you really can believe in. You can laugh with them and joke with them, and they're in on it.
The thing about Nintendo too is that we're not, under any delusion here. Not everything Nintendo has done has been successful. They have screwed up a few times, but if anything, you can at least say that Nintendo was creative. They are always trying to think outside the box and trying to find ways to bring more people into it. Now, over the past several years, Nintendo has had a lot of criticism from the quote-unquote hardcore gamers for focusing more on family kind of things. But I think what a lot of people like that tend to forget is that a video game system should be inclusive, and if you can involve your family, that's always a wonderful thing. The only video game I ever played with my father was the original Super Mario Brothers, and that, of course, was Nintendo. And to bring in the family and bring in more people to have fun, to play games together is a good thing. And Nintendo was always on the forefront of that.
Yeah, and naturally, as time progressed, consoles got more innovative, games got more difficult, more immersive, and unfortunately, it kind of left the older generation behind. So, with Nintendo actually taking the time to try to create a way to immerse those generations that might not have been into gaming at all because of the console growth, or because of how little it was at the time, did show that they cared. They cared enough to at least try it out. Might not have worked for the better, but you can't say Sony or Microsoft or anybody else was willing to go that route. Like, that's just the kind of people that Nintendo have, unfortunately, it's really sad to what really is sad is you realize all of this more and more only when bad things happen.
A person never really gets the kind of appreciation they deserve until after they pass away.
Yeah, like most artists.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you got to be dead for your work to mean something. Man, that's terrible. But unfortunately, you never really think about them doing all this stuff for casual gamers or not gamers, not at all, until until it fails and somebody dies because of it.
Now, I know there's going to be, smart Alex out there who are going to, well, people who have been, saying for the last 2 years that Nintendo's on the verge of death, Nintendo's about to go down. Nintendo's going to be here. Nintendo's going to keep making video games and keep going for a long, long, long time. I mean, this is a company that's been
like, the company is doing like good enough as is, though.
Right.
Like,
Right.
the way
Well,
it is right now. But like, everyone thinks that it's like already having that like shock of like, oh, it's going the way of Sega.
Yeah, no.
Like, in terms
Nintendo's
of,
been around for what, almost a century. The gaming portion of it, as actually when you compare it to the entire Nintendo history, gaming has only been around at the tail end of it, the past 30 years or so. But Nintendo's a company that's been around for a long time. It's going to stay around for a long time. Thanks to people like Will knows how to say his name, Mr. Iwata. Iwata.
Satoru
Yes. I'm
Iwata.
Terrible at names, not just Japanese names, but English names too. He as a person will never be replaced, but Nintendo will continue to go on. So Nintendo's going to be here. It's going to be strong, and it will continue for many, many, many years to come.
And when Will told me that news, I was like, are you serious? It didn't feel like, I thought Iwata would be like this old dude with like a beard or something, like
Lee. Well into his 90s. Yeah.
And and he's just like chilling around and still talking about games, like still like, putting some life into it, but I didn't think that he would.
But no, he was young. At
like
55, there's no way you should be even worrying about death. Like, that shouldn't have been a thing, and it's very surreal, is what it is, to see an icon or anybody really huge pass on and just kind of leave us like that. Like, you had so much left to offer, not just in video games, but his family. I imagine he was a father. Like 55, and you've lost someone like that. It's definitely impactful, not just to gamers, but to a lot of people who are involved in his life. And I can't help but feel very sorry for them. And I send them, of course, we all send them our deepest condolences.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to suffer from this. And like, with time, we'll bounce back. We'll never forget, and we shouldn't.
Agreed.
Yeah. I feel like I've stepped into an alternate universe without Iwata, to be honest.
Yeah,
It does not feel...
Now I just feel like going back and watching
Yeah,
some
it
old
feels a
Nintendo
little bit
Directs.
empty. Or maybe just going back and playing the old games that he's been on, and, maybe the more experimental
Apparently he
stuff.
also worked on the Kirby series a lot, too. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's just a real shame. The thing about it too is it reminds you that tomorrow is not guaranteed. So make the most of your time here, because you never know how much time you actually have.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much else to say on the matter. What can be said,
Just
really?
thank you for all the memories you gave us.
Thank you for a great childhood. Thank you for the games.
The best childhood. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
the best times
we are the first generation, I think, to grow up with video games. When people say that, when are you going to outgrow this? Well, yeah,
Never.
Yeah.
when are you going to outgrow?
No, it's growing with. We're never going to
When are you going to
outgrow.
outgrow watching television? When you're going to outgrow listening to music?
It's not something
You're
you outgrow.
not.
You
You're
adapt.
not.
You grow with it. It's gonna
Right.
always be there. It's like, it's not a fad.
Yeah, that's it's proven itself. That's not a fad. It's a viable form of entertainment, and it was started primarily. Large of it was started by Nintendo and the people who work there.
Now, of course, Shigeru Miyamoto are still around. biggest icons who like began series like Mario and Zelda, but you can't forget even the littler guys like.
Right.
And Iwata was definitely by no means a little guy. He's been there. But yeah, like it's very surreal. It's unbelievable, really, just to all of a sudden here, not a few weeks after E3, and where we just saw him laughing and joking around as his puppet form.
I know,
like doing his thing, and now he's gone. So,
I don't like this.
Nobody does. Well, guys, feel free to leave your comments below, your prayers with the family,
or maybe your best memory.
Yeah, exactly. Your best memories of games that he was probably involved in. Prayers for his family and the people who loved him. And Satoru Iwata from TheBrotherhoodofGaming.com, we give you our biggest send-off. We thank you so much for being a part of our lives, although indirect. You've impacted us with a lot of involvements that you've been in. Thank you so much, wherever you are. Rest in peace, bro.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching.